Hi everyone, I'm David Wallbridge, Associate Director at Harris & Clarke. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that doesn't always get enough attention at the start of a project, but can make or break its success: contingencies. Now, if you've ever been involved in a construction project, you'll know things rarely go exactly to plan. Unforeseen issues crop up, costs fluctuate, and sometimes, no matter how well prepared you are, you need to dip into that safety net. That safety net is your contingency. But what exactly is a contingency? What should it cover, and how much should you allow? And perhaps most importantly, how can you reduce the need for one in the first place? That's exactly what we'll explore in this video. Let's start with the basics. A contingency in construction is a financial allowance set aside to cover unexpected costs or risks that arise during a project. It's not part of the contractor's profit margin, and it's not a nice to have. It's an essential buffer that acknowledges a simple truth: no project runs 100% to plan. Think of it as a project's insurance policy against uncertainty. For example, you might have completed all your surveys, but when the excavation starts, you discover poor ground conditions, or perhaps building regulations change mid-project and compliance requirements means you have additional work. These are the kinds of things that contingencies are designed to deal with. So, what does a contingency usually cover? Broadly, contingencies account for risks and uncertainties that are known to exist but which can't be fully quantified at the time of budgeting. Typical examples might include design development. Early stage budgets are often based on outline designs, and as details get finalised, costs can shift. Site conditions, hidden defects, contamination, or unexpected utilities underground. Regulation changes, planning conditions, building control requirements, or CDM obligations that emerge later. Market volatility, price fluctuations for materials and labour shortages. Client-driven changes, scope adjustments or variations during delivery. It's important to distinguish contingencies from scope creep. If a client adds major new features, that's a variation, not something that should erode a contingency. One of the most common questions is, how much contingency should we allow? The short answer is, it depends. In the UK market, for most projects, typical contingencies range from 5 to 15% of the total construction cost. For early stage budgets, when design information is limited, you might allow closer to 10 to 15%. For fully designed tendered projects where risks are better understood, contingencies may be as low as 3 to 5%. For complex or high-risk schemes, such as refurbishment of old buildings, inner city sites, or projects with multiple stakeholders, a higher contingency is often essential. The level should be proportionate to the risks identified in the project's risk register. Now, it's one thing to set aside a contingency, it's another to manage it properly. Here are some of the best practices. Keep it separate. Don't fold contingencies into general costs. Ring fence it so you can keep track of how and when it's used. Link it to risk management. Every item on the risk register should have a potential cost impact. The contingency should reflect these risks, not just a random percentage. Approval process. Establish a clear rule for how the contingency is drawn down. Typically, a senior project manager or the client team must sign off before funds are used. Regular reporting. Track the contingency spending alongside actual costs. This transparency builds trust with stakeholders. And don't use it as a slush fund. A contingency is not there to cover poor planning or non-essential upgrades. By managing it carefully, contingencies remain a genuine safeguard rather than a hidden pot of money. This is the part everyone really wants to know. How do we reduce the need for a contingency in the first place? While you can never eliminate uncertainty entirely, there are several strategies to make contingencies smaller and more predictable. Invest in early surveys and investigations. The more you know about the site conditions, the fewer surprises you'll encounter later. Develop the design fully before tendering. Rushing to site with incomplete drawings often leads to costly changes. Engage consultants early. Structural engineers, M&E designers, and cost consultants can flag risks long before they become real costs. Benchmark costs, using data from similar projects, gives you a reality check whether your budget assumptions are sound. Collaborative procurement, working closely with contractors early to de-risk programs and highlight construction issues. Clear scope definition, to ensure everyone agrees exactly what is included and excluded before starting. Ultimately, good planning, thorough risk assessment and transparent communication are the most effective ways to reduce the need for a contingency. Let's also quickly touch on a few common mistakes to avoid. Setting contingencies too low. Wishful thinking doesn't help anyone. A 1% contingency on a complex refurbishment is asking for trouble. Treating contingencies as profit. It's not spare money to pad margins. Failing to update contingencies. Risks change as the project progresses. Sometimes contingencies should be released back if the risks are closed out. Other times it should be adjusted upwards. Using a contingency for known items. If you know about a cost, it belongs in the budget, not in the contingency. To wrap up, contingencies are an essential part of construction budgeting. They provide a financial safety net for risks and uncertainty, typically covering things like design development, site conditions and market volatility. The right level depends on the stage and the complexity of the project, but somewhere between 5 to 15% is usually the norm. The key to manage contingencies properly: ring fence it. Link it to risks and only draw on it when truly necessary. And remember, whilst you can't remove uncertainty entirely, you can reduce the need for a contingency through better planning, thorough surveys and clear communication. As always, if you need help or advice on this or any other topic, please feel free to get in touch via our website, harrisonclarke.co.uk, and I'll see you in my next video.